After some lengthy talks, Elon Musk's offer to buy Twitter for $44 billion has been accepted. So naturally, some people think that this is the greatest thing that could happen to the platform, while other people think that the world is ending. So what is going to change? And will it be as bad as people think? What's crack, it's VangelinaSkov, and today we're going to be talking about Elon Musk now that he has bought Twitter for more money than most of us will ever see in our entire lives ever. This was not an overnight buy, this is something that he was trying to do for a little while there, and while all these talks were going on, people were speculating about why he would want to buy Twitter, what he would want to do with it, and what would happen to the platform if it did happen. So now that we've actually arrived at the point of Elon Musk successfully buying this entire platform, we can think a little bit more seriously about what he's going to do with it. So we're going to get into that, but before we do, I'd like to ask that you would please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications with that little bell button, and also make sure that you have notifications enabled on your phone. So moving on then, let's talk about Elon Musk and his plans for Twitter. Now truthfully, when I heard last night that he had actually bought it, my first instinct was to think that he was buying it so that he could delete it for the meme, and honestly part of me is still hoping that that's the case. But it seems unlikely considering how much he paid for it. Some of that $44 billion was his own money and some was from loans, so I don't really think that if you are getting a loan out for something that you're gonna just delete it. I think you're gonna want to make your money back. But still, there is just a chance he could like Thanos snap it away. And I hate that I used the term Thanos snap, but it's very fitting for what I wish he would do. But I'm sure a lot of you don't want him to delete Twitter, so we're just gonna move away from my wishes. So he has himself already said some of his plans for Twitter and what he thinks would be good for the platform as a whole. He has called himself a freedom of speech absolutionist, which is exactly what it sounds like. He believes in free speech and only free speech, which does actually sound like a good thing, but it seems that this standpoint is very controversial. Here's a little excerpt from The Telegraph. After former US President Donald Trump was banned on the platform earlier this year, Musk tweeted, "A lot of people are going to be super unhappy with West Coast high tech as the de facto arbiter of free speech." He also said in April, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter, because that is what free speech means." So we could see the blanket bans on various accounts, including those that have been spreading misinformation and extremist views, relaxed in the name of open discourse. Such a move, however, would go against Twitter's recent work to stamp out toxic behavior on the platform. And a separate snippet from an article from Time, which talks about a similar thing. Musk's hardline rhetoric about free speech flies in the face of Twitter's recent evolution in this area. In 2018, the site came under fire after an MIT study showed that misinformation spread faster on Twitter than real news. Since then, the company has stepped up its efforts to combat hate speech and increase user safety, including the ability for its users to flag false information. The controversial Twitter account, Libs of TikTok, was twice suspended for hateful conduct, and last week the company announced it would ban advertisements that challenge widely accepted research on climate change. But misinformation, propaganda, and extremist views are still omnipresent on the site, especially surrounding Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While Musk has said that hate speech would be banned, he has yet to parse out the grey areas, and it seems possible that more lenient policies for content moderation could lead to more of the toxic behavior that Twitter has been trying to stamp out for years. Now obviously misinformation is a genuine worry that people have, and of course, at least in my opinion, it is something that should be taken seriously. But the last thing you want is people to voice their opinions which may be completely false as absolute fact. And I don't really want to take too many guesses as to what Elon is going to do in regards to misinformation because he hasn't outright said anything much yet. But some people have pointed out that there have been major issues with Twitter's own flagging and suspending of accounts that they deem to be harmful, because it has happened that some of the time these accounts are not necessarily harmful, they just have a view that is seen as the wrong opinion. For example, somebody saying something really horrible and sexist but just voicing it as their own opinion. To reduce it to the most simple example I possibly can, somebody tweeting out, "I hate women." Now the question is, should that person be banned? A lot of people would argue that it should, and a lot of people would argue that it shouldn't. But what we gotta understand here is that even though, in my view, that's a really stupid opinion to have, it's still just somebody's opinion and they have a right to be stupid on the internet. I may think you're an asshole, but you still have just the same right as I do to be on that platform. A platform which I'm not actually on at the moment, but still I have the right to be there if I want to. But at the same time, more extremist views on the other side of the argument is kind of seen as okay, because it's seen as the right opinion to have. Personally, where I would draw the line with the whole free speech argument is if this person who's tweeting "I hate women" changes that to, for example, "We should kill all women. Let's go kill all women." That then is inciting violence. At least in my view, that could be banned. Or if this person says, with absolutely no basis and no facts to back it up, "New research has shown that women are 10 times stupider than men," because that's just lying about scientific research. Now, I don't know if this is where Elon Musk himself would draw the line, but from what he said himself about his opinions on free speech, it seems to me like he's saying that he just wants to allow people to discuss things openly and have their horrible opinions, but not to allow inciting violence and spreading blatant misinformation about science. But for some people, the thought of having people that they vehemently disagree with stay on Twitter seems like the worst thing that could possibly happen. But I think people need to remember that other people would vehemently disagree with their opinions. But because of all of this, a lot of people are now saying that they're going to be deleting their Twitter because they believe that it's going to be a place for bigotry and sexism and racism. He got Twitter. I would like this to be my "what lies here" as my last tweet. Just really any excuse to show pics of Barreled. I fear this free speech bid is going to help the Hell platform reach its final form of totally lawless hate, bigotry, and misogyny. Best of luck. And there are also articles like this one from The Guardian which talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter, but the focus of the article is, why are people considering leaving? How do I deactivate my account if I want to? Where else can I go? And I'm always a little concerned personally when these kind of big media outlets are taking a stance like this, because although they're not outright saying you should delete your Twitter account, if the majority of articles are focusing on people are leaving, should you leave? Here's why it might be a good idea to leave. Here's where else you can go. Like, subscribe to our newsletter. It feels like just sort of a way to control some kind of narrative, because perhaps they fear that if people now on Twitter can basically say whatever they like, to some extent, I guess, that they may no longer be able to control the narrative, which is what they do, because, I mean, a lot of these companies have similar or the same investors. Which brings me to another point of people saying that the reason that they hate this so much is that, oh, Elon Musk is this evil, horrible person and he's just a billionaire, and we should not allow these kind of people to control Twitter, to own Twitter, and to have such power over social media. However, let us just take a look at the shareholders of Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. On the list are companies like Vanguard and BlackRock, who are not known as any kind of moral savior at all. So although you may not like Elon Musk and think that he's morally bankrupt, and I personally have things that I really disagree with in regards to Elon and things that he's done, but it's not that Twitter is now being corrupted by some evil supervillain. It was owned by questionable companies before, and now it's just owned by one public figure who a lot of people have some very strong opinions about, which of course you're entitled to have strong opinions about him. And personally, I do hope that he doesn't take things as far as saying that inciting violence or spreading blatant misinformation is okay. But at the same time, I'm going to go back to my original argument of that even if I think that you're an asshole, you have the right to be an asshole online. Sometimes your opinion is wrong, sometimes my opinion is wrong, and sometimes their opinion is wrong. So we all should get a chance to voice that, even if we're idiots. Which is just my opinion. You can let me know in the comments what your opinion is on all of this. Do you think that it's the worst thing ever? Do you think that it's okay? Do you think that it's great? Or do you think that I'm an idiot and you want to correct me and tell me why I'm stupid? You can let me know any of that in the comments. There are some other things Elon brought up as to what he'd like to do with Twitter. One of these things being trying to get rid of spam bots. And he says to do this, he's going to up authentication for users. So things like getting phone numbers or other ways of authenticating people, he hasn't really gone into details about this yet. Now, obviously, this is something that a lot of people are going to be very unhappy about because they kind of just want to stay anonymous online. They don't want to give any more data than they have to. And that is a fair concern. So I'd like to just see where that goes, what kind of things he's asking for, what kind of data he's going to look for to authenticate people before I make any kind of snap judgments on that myself. But in the meantime, if you don't agree with Elon Musk buying Twitter, if you don't think that freedom of speech absolutionism is a good thing, if you are worried about him collecting your data or having to give more data to stay on the platform, you're more than welcome to leave. it's fine. It's not that big of a deal if you want to leave Twitter, but the decision is yours to make at the end of the day. Anyway, that's going to be it for me for now. Like I already said, do let me know in the comments what you think about everything, and you can also follow me on social media, of which you will notice I'm not on Twitter at the moment, but follow me in other places. And also, just a reminder, I am currently live on Twitch. Come and say hi. Like, comment, share, do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!